The antique timepiece in the corner beats with an irregular rhythm, too measured to be natural. I remain seated at the familiar dining table, my fingertips following the well-known grooves carved from 17 years of shared meals. The tilted yellow dessert before me represents another homemade effort. My adoptive mother, Jean, continues her tradition of baking despite my 20th birthday today. Jean's unsteady hands position 20 blue candles in an uneven arrangement. Her marriage band reflects the late afternoon sunshine pouring through the kitchen glass. Father Gregory positions himself nearby, wearing his dark formal attire, reserved for memorial services and his periodic courthouse visits as a character reference for Dr. Hale's organization. "Congratulations on your birthday, Maya," Gregory announces, his expression forced around the edges. The statement lingers in the heavy Midwestern atmosphere surrounding us. Both have avoided direct eye contact throughout the entire day. "I appreciate it," I respond, observing Jean's struggle with the ignition device. Her fourth effort to produce a consistent flame. The quiet that ensues seems practiced, as though they've rehearsed this interaction for many days. Gregory coughs nervously, adjusting his beverage, a familiar gesture I've observed since youth. "Maya, we must discuss something now that you've reached 20. Jean ceases her candle-lighting efforts. 5 remain unlit. Her gaze shifts toward Gregory, an unspoken inquiry exchanged between them. "We delayed until we believed you were prepared," he proceeds. Jean rotates her wedding band, the golden circle spinning loosely around her digit. The movement communicates more than any verbal statement could. "I'll retrieve it," she mutters, vanishing into the corridor. The wooden planks groan under her hurried footsteps. I remain patient, maintaining the composed facade I've developed through years of cautious watching. Upon Jean's return, she pulls a weathered travel case, the old Samsonite with a damaged wheel that hasn't been used within my memory. "You were brought to us through adoption, Maya," Gregory declares matter-of-factly, as if reciting from an unseen document. "You arrived when you were 3 years old." Jean slides an envelope across the worn wooden surface, pushing it beyond the leaning cake until it rests near my hands. I don't immediately grasp it. "There's $400 inside," she states softly, along with a hostile address downtown. "They offer monthly accommodations." Gregory readjusts his neckwear once more. "We've completed our state obligation. You're now an adult, and we believe it's appropriate for you to establish your independent life," Jean concludes, her voice breaking on the final words. I examine the envelope, then study the faces I've analyzed for 17 years, seeking resemblances to myself. I've discovered none. I pause an additional moment before responding, observing their growing unease. "Is there additional information you need to share regarding Camille Mercer?" The color vanishes from Gregory's complexion so rapidly it appears someone released a drain. Jean's coffee mug slips from her fingers, fracturing against the hardwood surface, dark liquid spreading across her practical tan footwear. "How did you?" Gregory begins, then halts as his legal training for crisis management activates. 2 months passed. While searching for holiday decorations in our storage area, I discovered a metal container with a broken fastener. Beneath financial documents and property papers lay a birth certificate bearing an unfamiliar name, Maya Claire Mercer. Mother, Dr. Camille Elizabeth Mercer. Father, unknown. For weeks following, I spent afternoons at the public library examining newspaper archives and official records. The microfilm reader became my trusted companion as I located the newspaper article about Dr. Camille Mercer's alleged dangerous beliefs concerning experiments at Stone Meyer Institute, where Gregory previously served as chief financial officer. "I'm going to gather my belongings," I inform them, rising from the table. The cake remains abandoned, its candles, a mixture of burning and cold wax, beginning to drip onto the yellow icing. In my bedroom, I systematically pack clothing into a backpack I acquired weeks earlier. Through the thin walls, I overhear their whispered dispute in the hallway, Jean's voice escalating in distress, Gregory's sharper tones interrupting her. Dinner proceeds in awkward silence. Jean repeatedly glances toward me, parting her lips as if to speak, then looking elsewhere. Gregory examines his plate, as though it contains solutions to questions he prefers not to face. I pause at my bedroom entrance one final time, memorizing the worn floral wallpaper, the bookcase filled with carefully chosen literature, the window that never sealed properly during winter. When I exit through the front entrance, backpack across one shoulder and the Pinewood hostel address in my pocket, Gregory offers transportation. No, I state simply, and begin walking down the maple-bordered street without turning back. The luggage they prepared remains behind, along with their narrative of my history. But I carry the truth forward. The Pinewood hostel carries the scent of cheap pine cleaning solution and decades of cigarette residue. My accommodation measures 12 by 14 feet with water damage mapping the ceiling, $30 nightly. At this rate, the money for my former guardians will last fewer than 14 days. I attached another newspaper clipping to the wall. The collection expands daily, yellowed headlines and unclear photographs spreading across the faded floral wallpaper like a disease. At the center hangs a photograph of Dr. Camille Mercer from a medical publication, my mother's expression serious and resolute, my face with 17 years of different decisions. The night supervisor knocks twice before entering, though the door lacks a lock. "Another late evening, Maya?" Vince inquires, leaning against the doorframe. His gaze passes over my evidence wall without interest. In establishments like Pinewood, residents learn not to pose questions. Just verifying you're alive. "You've remained inside for 3 consecutive days." "I'm well." I fold the article I was examining. "Thank you for the additional blanket." He nods, hesitating another moment before departing. The door doesn't close completely. Nothing functions properly at Pinewood, which makes it ideal. Nobody expects anything from a place already deteriorating. I return to my timeline, following red thread between pushpins. Gregory Collins, Chief Financial Officer for the Hale Foundation, 1998 to 2005. Dr. Martin Hale, founder of Stone-Meyer Institute, current board chairman of 6 hospitals throughout the Midwest. Dr. Lawrence Whitman, the psychiatrist who authorized my mother's commitment documents 3 days after she submitted a formal complaint about experimental treatments at Stone-Meyer. The library's microfilm machine has become my primary companion. Mrs. Delaney, the head librarian with arthritic hands and keen eyes, no longer inquires about my research. Yesterday, she placed a sealed envelope beside my workstation without comment. Inside, her handwritten list of archived medical board complaints from 2000 to 2005, 5 names highlighted, all women, all committed within weeks of filing complaints against Stone-Meyer Institute or Dr. Hale. My mother wasn't the first, merely the one who came closest to exposing them. The desk in my hostel room vanishes beneath stacks of photocopies and handwritten notes. I've established my own organization system. Yellow cards for financial records, blue for medical documents, green for personal connections. The pattern emerges clearly. Gregory Collins personally supervised the financial arrangements for at least 3 research employees who were institutionalized after raising concerns. My fingers brush the official adoption documents, stamped, signed, and processed with remarkable speed. The court records show minimal investigation into my background, no attempt to locate relatives, no waiting period. Gregory and Jean Collins became my parents with suspicious efficiency. The same month, Gregory received a bonus equivalent to a year's salary. I wasn't rescued. I was silenced. My stomach protests, but I ignore it. I've been surviving on vending machine snacks and library water fountain access. The money must last, and hunger is merely another distraction. At the courthouse, Emily Henderson discreetly provides me an access card while pretending to explain the public records system. The retired clerk's voice drops to a whisper. "3rd floor records, room B. That card won't register in the system. You have 30 minutes before security makes rounds." I locate it in a supposedly sealed files, quarterly payments from a shell corporation to the Collins household, coded as dependent care support. The payments continued until last month. My 20th birthday marked the end of their obligation. I traced the paper trail through medical files, watching my mother's credentials disappear one by one. Her medical license suspended pending review, her published research withdrawn with vague accusations of misconduct, her academic positions terminated. A systematic erasure executed with frightening thoroughness. The librarian finds me late Thursday afternoon, her lips pressed into a thin line. She slides a worn folder across the table, without meeting my eyes. "These shouldn't exist anymore," she murmurs. "They requested all copies be destroyed during the investigation. I kept one, been waiting for someone to ask the right questions. Inside, the original whistleblower statement from Dr. Camille Mercer detailing experimental treatments on female patients diagnosed with oppositional personality disorders or hysterical tendencies. Patients who questioned authority, women who refused to comply, treatments designed to create docility and acceptance of established hierarchies. In my room at Pinewood, I unfold one of Gregory's donation envelopes from the Hale Foundation. The return address sits like an accusation in blue ink. The same logo appears on my mother's commitment papers, the same signature. Gregory Collins authorizing financial arrangements for Dr. Camille Mercer's indefinite therapeutic residency. Mrs. Henderson finds me in the library basement 3 days later, her arthritis-gnarled hands twisting nervously. "They're not in the system," she whispers, glancing toward the stairs. "When records are closed, some patients were transferred, special cases, not in any public database." She slides a hand-drawn map across the table, a winding road through dense woodland, an unmarked turnoff, a facility named Rock Hollow Behavioral Center. "Security badge only," she adds. "Minimal staff, maximum containment." That night, I drive my second-hand Honda along the unmarked access road, tree branches scraping against the windows like warning fingers. After 3 miles of densely wooded isolation, the facility appears, a sprawling stone structure with narrow windows and a chain-link perimeter topped with razor wire. A single guard booth monitors the entrance, a discreet sign identifying it as Rock Hollow Behavioral Center. Private property, no trespassing. Is she inside? Has she been there all these years, just 2 hours from the house where I grew up? I park on the shoulder a quarter-mile away, using binoculars to study the building. Cameras positioned at every corner, staff parking for only 20 cars, a loading dock where a pharmacy delivery truck unloads unmarked containers. A facility designed not for treatment, but for containment. My mother is behind those walls, I'm certain of it. The question isn't whether I'll get her out. The question is how far I'll go to dismantle the system that put her there, and the people who've built their lives on her silence, starting with the man I called father for 17 years. The bathroom mirror of my hostel room reflects a stranger. Chestnut hair dye stains the cheap porcelain sink as I practice my cover story under my breath while massaging color into my scalp with gloved hands. Angela Weber, social work student, thesis on long-term care environments. The words feel stiff on my tongue despite 2 weeks of rehearsal. My forged student ID and visitor application rest on the countertop beside a spiral notebook with unnecessarily detailed research questions. People rarely question those who appear official and boring. The drive to Rock Hollow takes 40 minutes on winding back roads. The facility emerges from dense woodland like something from a Victorian nightmare, a sprawling brick structure with narrow windows and a wrought iron gate that seems designed more to keep people in than out. My pulse hammers against my ribs as I approach the visitor entrance, but my face reveals nothing. The receptionist barely glances at my credentials, her hollow eyes scanning my forged documents with mechanical indifference. "Purpose of visit?" she asks, flat as week-old soda. "Research interview with patient Camille Mercer for my thesis on institutional care environments." I hand her the official-looking approval letter I created, complete with university letterhead. She stamps a visitor pass and buzzes me through without a second look. The antiseptic smell hits me first, bleach and industrial cleaner masking something sour underneath. Shuffling feet echo down the corridor in steady rhythm as patients move between scheduled activities, flanked by attendants with clipboards and bored expressions. The visiting area consists of scattered tables bolted to the floor, each separated enough to prevent easy conversation between groups. A guard stands by the only exit, keys jingling at his belt. And then I see her. My mother sits by the window, frail hands folded in her lap, wispy hair pulled back in a loose knot. Sunlight filters through wire-reinforced glass, illuminating dust particles that dance around her like miniature constellations. Her vacant gaze follows nothing in particular. My research hadn't prepared me for how small she would look. I approach slowly, setting my notebook on the table with deliberate calm. "Dr. Mercer? I'm Angela Weber. Thank you for agreeing to speak with me." Her eyes don't focus immediately, the medication I realize. They keep her drifting between reality and somewhere else. I sit across from her, acutely aware of the guard checking his watch. Timing matters. According to the schedule I memorized, medication rounds happen at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. It's 11:30, the window when some patients experience brief clarity. I'm researching long-term care environments. I continue, loud enough for anyone listening. Then, leaning forward slightly, my voice dropping to barely above a whisper. Maya. My name is Maya. Her eyes sharpen suddenly, pupils contracting as if someone adjusted her focus. Her fingers tremble as they reach toward my face, stopping inches short of contact. They said you would forget me, she whispers, voice rough from disuse. But you'd be safer that way. The simple recognition splinters something in my chest. 16 years of separation, dissolved by 5 quiet words. I remember enough, I answer, opening my notebook to create a shield from watching eyes. Camille's gaze darts to the guard, then back to me. We have 20 minutes before Lawrence makes his rounds. He thinks I'm responding well to the new dosage. I nod, keeping my expression neutral despite the storm building behind my ribs. Tell me what happened. Behavioral conditioning experiments at Stonemeyer, she murmurs, her face arranged in the pleasant mask of the institutionalized. They call them breakthrough treatments for treatment-resistant patients. She describes mental tortures disguised as therapy, sleep deprivation, isolation, experimental drugs without consent, the careful selection of difficult women, single mothers, former addicts, abuse survivors whose complaints would be easily dismissed. I was department head of psychiatry. I found the files, patient suicides classified as treatment failures. Her words come faster now, decades of silence breaking like a dam. I confronted Martin, filed reports. 3 days later, I was committed, declared delusional by colleagues I had trusted. Your father arranged everything, she says, and for a moment confusion clouds my expression before I realize she means Gregory Collins. He handled the financial transfers, the paperwork for your custody arrangement. Called it protective intervention. My pen hovers above my notebook, trembling slightly. The man I called father for 17 years personally orchestrated my mother's imprisonment and my appropriation. I notice Camille's right hand sliding beneath the thin cushion of her chair. She extracts a small notebook bound in faded blue fabric, passing it beneath the table. I've documented everything, she whispers. 17 years of treatments, staff rotations, medication protocols. They assume the drugs make me compliant. They never searched hard enough. The journal disappears into my bag as I stare at this woman who never stopped fighting, despite chemical restraints and isolation, who kept her mind intact through systematic attempts to destroy it. There's a nurse, Camille continues.
Belle.
She left last year, but still visits her former patients. Officially, she brings cookies and magazines. Unofficially, she knows what they're doing here. I memorize the name, already planning my approach. How do I find her? Service entrance, Thursdays at 4 o'clock. Tell her I sent you. Camille's eyes flick toward the hallway where a medication card appears. Our time's almost up. I rise, gathering my notebook with steady hands despite the earthquake reshaping my understanding of everything. I'll come back. I know, she says, her expression softening for the first time. You have my eyes. 3 days later, I stand by the service entrance of Rock Hollow, collar turned up against autumn wind that carries the scent of approaching rain. At precisely 4 o'clock, a woman in her 50s approaches, carrying a basket covered with checkered cloth.
Margot Belle.
I ask quietly. She freezes, keys halfway to the door, wariness evident in her rigid posture. Camille Mercer sent me. The wariness transforms to fear, then resignation. I've waited years for someone to ask the right questions, she finally says. But not here. Meet me at Lakeside Diner in an hour. At the diner, overburnt coffee. Margot places a flash drive beside my saucer. Medication records, unauthorized protocols, security schedules. Her voice barely carries over the clattering dishes. Your mother wasn't the only one, but she was the one they feared most. I slide it into my pocket, fear and fury battling beneath my controlled expression. There's more, she says, pushing a manila folder across the table. These were harder to access. Inside, my pediatric medical records, Years of preventative treatments administered during routine checkups, experimental compounds disguised as vitamins and vaccines, authorized with Gregory Collins's signature on every form. Understanding crystallizes like ice in my veins. My unexplained childhood illnesses, the monthly doctor visits, the pills every morning with breakfast that Jean insisted were just to keep you healthy, sweetheart. There are others, Margot says quietly. Children of whistleblowers, all placed in protective custody with carefully selected guardians, all receiving specialized medical care. I stare at pages documenting the chemical alteration of my developing brain, the careful monitoring for signs of maternal instability patterns, years of being medicated against an inheritance of courage they labeled madness. The rage that rises is cold, focused, a surgeon's scalpel rather than a forest fire. This ends now, I tell Margot, voice steady despite the seismic shift occurring within me. All of it. As I walk back to my car, I make a silent vow to the mother who never stopped fighting, and to the child I was who never knew why her mind felt slightly foggy, why her dreams were always just beyond reach. They hadn't just stolen my mother. They had methodically attempted to erase her from me, cell by cell, synapse by synapse. They had failed. The bathroom mirror at Pinewood Hostel has a crack running from corner to corner. I trace it with my finger, watching my reflection split in two, the person I was raised to be and the person I'm becoming. 3 weeks living in this place, and everything has changed. I've established the corner room as my command center. The rear wall displays an intricate web of proof, press cuttings, duplicated files, handwritten observations, all connected by crimson thread. This improvised detective board has depleted nearly all my remaining funds, but currency loses significance when weighed against 16 years of lost time. I retreat a step, examining the chronology I've assembled, focusing on the whistleblowers at Stone. Maya's voice has been systematically suppressed with alarming frequency. Mental health hospitalizations. After making accusations, children were removed to protective care with financially incentivized caretakers. Every connection leads back to the Hale Foundation and Gregory Collins, the man who portrayed himself as my father while receiving payments for my silence. Camille's hidden diary lies open beside my computer on the bed. I dedicated 7 consecutive nights to transcribing her careful handwriting, decoding the cipher system she created to record everything. Drug quantities were elevated prior to board reviews. Patient relocations occurred during nighttime hours. Personnel who challenged procedures were suddenly transferred or dismissed. The defective heater rattles and wheezes, forcing lukewarm air through the space. I glanced at my timepiece, nearly time. Beyond the restaurant window, vehicles move slowly through the afternoon precipitation. I selected this location deliberately. Sufficiently busy for concealment. Loud enough to hide our discussion. 3 escape routes available if needed. The woman opposite me stirs her beverage for a 4th time without tasting it. I attempted to share this account a decade ago. Tessa Monroe finally speaks, her gaze penetrating despite the exhaustion marking her features. She examines the papers I've positioned between us. A former investigative reporter blacklisted after pursuing corruption charges against politically influential individuals. Tessa represented my 7th effort at finding the proper partner. The previous 6 trusted me but lacked either the bravery or the medium to assist. What occurred? I inquire, though my research already provided the answer. Unexpected tax examination. Mysterious technical problems that destroyed my research. Contacts who refused ever speaking with me. She touches a finger to Dr. Hale's photograph. They didn't merely discredit me. They eliminated me professionally. Yet you're present now. Something passes across her expression, almost resembling hope. Certain narratives never release their hold, even after they ruin you. I slide Camille's copied diary pages toward her. This time we possess proof they cannot eliminate. She examines the pages, her professional composure faltering momentarily. Your mother possessed exceptional intelligence. Even under heavy medication, she constructed a legal case. We dedicate the following hour to creating our distribution strategy. Several media sources. Never only one. Independent audio programs concentrating on medical ethics and institutional misconduct. Former legal prosecutors now advocating for patients. Reporters functioning beyond conventional media frameworks. Separate packages. Tessa clarifies, drawing a schematic on her napkin. Each recipient receives distinct documentation with individual access passwords. No single destination possesses everything. A fail-safe mechanism. I contribute, grasping immediately. She acknowledges, something resembling admiration crossing her expression. We're not merely revealing the truth. We're making it too prominent to suppress. I return to the lodging after sunset to discover Gregory standing in the modest entrance hall. His dark suit appears out of place against the shabby furnishings. The night attendant seems almost regretful as I approach.
Maya.
Gregory states, his attorney voice perfectly controlled despite the strain evident in his expression. We must speak. I guide him to the shared area, intentionally selecting the space with the surveillance camera positioned in the corner. He observes my tactical placement, his eyes narrowing slightly. Your mother possessed certain unstable hereditary traits. He starts, adjusting his necktie. We've shielded you from that inheritance. These fantasies you're chasing. How did you locate me? I interrupt. His brief hesitation reveals everything. They're monitoring. Following. The authorities contacted me today. I inform him steadily. They're worried about my conduct. Fascinating timing. His face remains unchanged, but his knuckles pale as he clutches his leather case. That night, a message arrives from Margot. Security increased at Rock Hollow. Patient relocations planned. They're moving individuals, concealing proof. Someone viewed my library profile yesterday. According to the automatic email alert, my carefully built timeline suddenly appears deliberately slow. 3 days afterward, it commences. The medical ethics program broadcasts their conversation with an unnamed source alongside Camille's audio documents describing the experimental procedures. By midday, images spread across social platforms. Regional journalists begin making inquiries. Confidential information from previous staff members starts arriving, confirming our accusations. The lodging supervisor intercepts me at the stairway that night. Speaking quietly. 2 individuals inquired about you today, displayed identification but left no contact cards. I messaged Tessa immediately. We must speed up our schedule. By dawn, I've moved to an apartment owned by Tessa's acquaintance. My limited belongings in my bag. The first significant news organization has covered the story. The Hale Foundation released a declaration rejecting all charges, labeling it an organized defamation effort. Their refusal sounds empty against the mounting evidence. We've released too many testimonies speaking simultaneously, too many papers indicating the same result. The truth isn't merely surfacing, it's thundering. I awaken to my disposable phone buzzing against the side table. The electronic clock displays 4:17 a.m. Tessa's identity appears on the display. It's occurring, she announces without introduction. Activate any news station. I search for the remote control. My hands awkward with drowsiness and excitement. The old television in my temporary residence illuminates, flooding the space with blue illumination. The moving headline across the screen's bottom states urgent. Several sources report accusations of patient mistreatment at Rock Hollow Behavioral Facility. My breathing stops. Following weeks of meticulous preparation, the coordinated distribution of evidence packets to 7 distinct media organizations has functioned precisely as planned. The Washington Times possesses the financial documents. Tessa continues, her voice strained with restrained enthusiasm. Channel 9 broadcasts the video evidence from Stonemaier. NPR features 3 former staff members on record. I observe as the camera focuses on the Hale Foundation headquarters steps. Dr. Martin Hale stands at a podium. His typically pristine appearance now disheveled, perspiration forms on his brow despite the cool morning. These accusations are entirely baseless, he stutters, fixing his tie. The Hale Foundation maintains a 50-year record of compassionate treatment. The journalist interrupts. Dr. Hale, can you clarify these internal communications authorizing Dr. Camille Mercer's commitment following her reports of experimental procedures at Stonemaier Institute? The camera focuses on documents displayed for audience viewing. My foster father's signature clearly appears at the bottom. Gregory Collins, Chief Financial Officer, Hale Foundation. I increase the audio as the presenter reports. Social media has exploded with the hashtag RockHollowTruth. As former patients start sharing their accounts, my phone alerts with an incoming text from an unidentified sender. State Medical Board scheduled emergency meeting for 9 a.m. It's functioning. Outside, the sky starts brightening with the initial faint traces of sunrise. I access another news website on my computer. 3 Rock Hollow supervisors have been suspended temporarily. A representative from the Oversight Committee demands a federal inquiry. The system starts fracturing. I contact Margot at precisely 7:05 a.m., adhering to our established timeline. The overnight personnel are in disorder, she reports quietly. Management ordered all patient documents secured, but security is overwhelmed, monitoring the entrance where journalists are assembling. Tonight, I inform her, we act tonight. 16 hours later, I park 2 streets from Rock Hollow. Service entry. The evening news reported Gregory Collins' residence being searched by authorities and Dr. Hale questioned by police. The progress has accelerated beyond our expectations. Margot meets me at the staff entrance. Her expression tight, with anxious energy. She provides me with an employee identification card. I've already completed the release documents. She whispers as we walk quickly through service passages. Submitted them yesterday before anyone monitored for suspicious activity. The corridors are strangely silent. Most personnel have been assigned to handle the media situation or address the flood of worried family members inquiring about patients. 3rd floor has limited oversight tonight, Margot explains, using her keycard at the elevator. Everyone's either concealing themselves or eliminating evidence. The elevator opens on the 3rd floor. My heart beats rapidly against my chest as we proceed down the hallway. Our steps dampened by commercial carpeting. Margot stops outside room 317. Looking both directions before opening the door, Camille sits on her bed's edge, a small cloth bag prepared beside her. Her silver-streaked hair has been carefully arranged, and she wears a sweater I haven't seen previously. Over her standard hospital attire. I anticipated you'd arrive today, she states simply. Her eyes, so similar to mine, appear clear and alert. The medication routine changed. They're preoccupied. I cross the space in 3 movements and grasp her hands. They're chilled but firm. Regardless of their actions, I tell her, amazed by my voice's steadiness. I was always returning for you. Margot monitors the doorway. 5 minutes until shift transition. We must depart. We leave through the same service exit. Camille walks between us.
No alarm s'activat.
No security personnel shout. Just the heavy metal door shutting behind us with a soft click. It sounds remarkably like liberation. The night atmosphere surrounds us. Fresh and pleasant compared to the antiseptic stuffiness of Rock Hollow. Camille stops momentarily, raising her face toward the stars. The Big Dipper, she whispers. I could observe only 1 star from my window. Never the complete constellation. In the vehicle, she recounts details about my existence that she somehow managed to gather and remember, despite years of chemical suppression. You won the 5th grade spelling contest with the word quintessential, she mentions as we drive from Rock Hollow. You fractured your arm at 12, climbing the maple tree in the backyard. You're sensitive to strawberries. Her hand locates mine on the console between us, and I understand she's been gathering these pieces of my life. Like prisoners marking tallies on walls, tracking days, maintaining reason. The late-night news plays on the radio. Gregory Collins' standing is deteriorating rapidly as journalists discover his involvement in multiple improper commitments. Dr. Hale's legal representatives have released a statement separating him from operational choices. 3 additional Rock Hollow supervisors have been suspended. The State Attorney General's office announced tonight that a thorough investigation into accusations of systematic patient mistreatment will commence immediately. The broadcaster declares. Meanwhile, lawyers have submitted the initial class action suit representing former patients. I turn off the radio. There will be opportunity for justice tomorrow. Tonight concerns something entirely different.
Camille squeezes my hand.
They believed burying the truth would make it vanish. She speaks softly. They forgot that buried things can flourish. The headlights pierce through darkness as we drive toward the state boundary, leaving Rock Hollow behind without looking back toward a fresh start. Neither of us dared envision just weeks earlier. Some conclusions are really just the truth. Finally liberated. The morning sunlight spreads across our kitchen table, illuminating the crossword puzzle. Camille works with consistent focus. A cup of tea grows cold at her side, the steam rising towards ceiling beams aged by decades of ocean air. After 6 months in this coastal community, our cottage walls have started feeling less temporary. 23 across, Camille states, tapping her pencil against the newspaper. 6 letters. What was once missing, discovered. I respond without glancing up from the toast I'm preparing. Her laughter comes naturally now. Nothing like those initial weeks following Rock Hollow, when laughter emerged rusty and hesitant. You didn't require the hint. I place her dish beside the crossword. Some solutions I simply understand. Our cottage stands on the town's periphery, where paved streets become gravel, windows facing east. Because, Camille insisted, she'd spent 16 years unable to measure time through natural illumination. Now she rises with the sunrise, often before my alarm. Some mornings I discover her simply standing by the window, palms against glass, still cool from night air. We employ different identities now, not complex disguises, just minor modifications. Catherine for Camille. Marie for Maya. Small diversions while investigations proceed without us. The neighbors recognize us as the reserved mother and daughter who arrived last winter. The baker saves daily bread for us. The librarian suggests novels with positive endings. The medication withdrawal proved most difficult. 3 months of shaking and memory lapses. Nights when Camille would wake screaming from nightmares she couldn't describe. I maintained detailed notes in our shared diary. Positive days in blue ink, challenging ones in black. The entries become increasingly blue.
Tell me again about my 3rd birthday.
I request, watching her hand steady as she completes 7 across. Camille places down her pencil. You wore yellow coveralls, insisted on them, despite it being November. Her eyes focus on something beyond our kitchen walls. You carried that stuffed rabbit constantly. Hoppy had a chewed-off ear. I prepared chocolate cupcakes with strawberry frosting because you couldn't choose between the two. You consumed the frosting first, then the cake. Systematic. Even then, each recovered memory feels like compensation. We're constructing a bridge across 16 years of stolen time. Board by board. The television murmurs in the corner, volume reduced. Camille still reacts to sudden sounds. The morning news displays Dr. Hale being led from his foundation offices, his face covered by a raised hand. The headline moves across the bottom. Investigation extends to 3 states. They discover the records in Connecticut, Camille mentions quietly. I don't inquire how she knows. Tessa keeps us updated through secure channels, though we've never revealed our location. Her investigation has just earned a national recognition. Gregory Collins faces 13 criminal charges. The state medical board has revoked 6 psychiatrist licenses. A congressional hearing on institutional psychiatric abuse commences next month. The notifications sound on my laptop chimes from the adjacent room. Camille raises an eyebrow. Another survivor, I clarify, retrieving the computer.
Look.
She's been transmitting encrypted communications for weeks. Claire Rothman, Camille whispers, eyes widening. She was at Stonemeyer before me. They claimed she committed suicide. Very much alive. I state, turning the screen so she can view the message. You accomplished what I couldn't. We're organizing testimony for the hearings. No obligation to participate, but your statement would be significant. 53 former patients have connected through our secure channel. Each account reflects portions of Camille's brilliant women who questioned powerful men, then disappeared behind diagnoses created to silence them. Later, we walk the coastline. As evening colors everything golden. Camille's steps are stronger now, her frame less delicate. She produces a photograph from her pocket, the one she kept concealed inside Rock Hollow's library copy of Jane Eyre for 16 years. In it, I sit on her lap, no older than 2. Both of us laughing at something beyond the camera. I always sensed something was absent. I confess, watching waves eliminate our footprints. Even before I found the documents, Camille slips her hand into mine. They could remove everything else, but they couldn't erase that.